Hello, and welcome to the Path of Most Persistence. This is a place where we hear and share tenacious stories of overcoming obstacles with our partners who dare to share a bit of their own personal paths.
Alberto Treviño III serves as a commissioner representing labor for the Texas Workforce Commission. On January 9, 2023, Governor Greg Abbott appointed him to the three-member commission and confirmed by the Texas Senate on March 19, 2023. Commissioner Treviño retired from U.S. Border Patrol, security, and law enforcement as a police instructor, background investigator, and patrol officer. He served on the Local 3307 of the National Border Patrol Council as treasurer and executive vice president. Treviño received an associate's degree in criminal justice from Texas Southmost College. Commissioner, it is so good to be with you today and have this conversation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Segovia, for being here.
Oh, always a pleasure. You know, I always enjoy seeing you at events because your enthusiasm and your dedication to Texas and, of course, the labor, but also what you do for communities and all of the stakeholders involved. So what I want to do for our audience, at least, there's several topics that I want to cover, but I also want to start off with, can you tell me, the audience, what is the purpose of the Texas Workforce Commission? What do you all do here?
Well, that's a great question. And the Texas Workforce Commission not only helps people that have lost jobs and to help find them, but when I started this position, that's what I thought they did. I didn't realize that they do so much more. They're involved with the community, the educational providers that provide skills to workers to get good jobs, plus child care, quality child care that they can help workers not worry about their children while they're at work and know that they're getting a great education. And also vocational rehabilitation. They also help people that may have disabilities, whether it's physical or learning abilities, to get jobs so they can support themselves. So it is a great opportunity and a great agency to be a part of.
And that's one of the things that I appreciate so much about the commission is that it seems to have always taken a 360 approach to all members of our wonderful state, because it is, like you mentioned, about child care, talked about job opportunities, and all the things that you all do. So that's one of my great appreciations for the commission. But in the open, I did mention that you're one of three commissioners. So I mentioned that you are a commissioner representing labor. So can you tell us about, before we go into exactly what you do as that commissioner, can you talk about the other commissioners, what they oversee, and then go into yours?
Yes, well, we have a chairman, Chairman Daniel, who oversees the public. And we also have a new commissioner, Commissioner Joe Esparza, who represents the employers. And it takes all three of us to have a commissioner meeting where we decide on certain policies, unemployment insurance cases, and we have a natural tiebreaker. And it's great to work with them because we're all part of the same team, even though we represent different facets of the community. Our goal is to make sure that Texas stays strong as it is.
It's very, very strong. And there are so many aspects and celebrations that the commission has had, especially over these last few years. But before we leave that, when you talk about the other commissioners and what and who they represent, again, that seems to be such a strength of the commission overall, that you three commissioners who work very closely together. Is it correct that you all meet as a group once a week? Is it once a month? How often do you meet to bring in your different perspectives?
Right. Well, we try to meet once a week. Due to schedule changes or whatnot, we can't always do that. But for the public, we try to meet once a week because some of the decisions we make affect them. But it is great to work with both of them, and I don't think we'd be able to do what we do without the great team and support that we have here at the agency.
So true, and I'm assuming because you do meet so regularly, that probably lends to the dynamic economic force that Texas is. So can you, from your perspective, not only representing labor but being part of the commission overall, what are some of the highlights that our audience really need to know about Texas, some of the accomplishments that we're in the process of accomplishing, but some of the recent ones that have just really been astounding?
Well, I think a lot of the recent ones is all the great businesses that we're bringing here.
Yes.
Excuse me, all the great educational opportunities that we have here in the state. I think Texas has always been a can-do attitude state, the friendly state. You have a problem, and Texans will figure out how to do it. And I think that makes our job a lot easier. I think also the great thing that we have here at Texas Workforce Commission is the collaboration that we keep having. My main focus throughout my career was communication, speaking, listening, and I think here at Texas Workforce, they really know how to do that through the collaborations that we have with the economic development councils throughout the state, the educational providers,
Yes.
And our workforce boards. We have 28 workforce boards throughout the state, and they're the ones that are the boots on the ground that really get into the weeds of what their areas need and listen to the community. And listening to them, they help us with our job and make it just a lot more easier.
Yeah, and you get to hear the needs firsthand. You get to hear the wins. And I know you just celebrated your first anniversary being on the commission.
Yes.
So I understand, and I've seen on social media and just following the commission and, of course, your activity, you've been all over the state.
Yes.
And if I'm correct, there's about 14 million working Texans.
Correct.
So how do you manage? And how was it that you've been able to be all over the state? And was that intentional? Did you map out a plan with your team? How did all that happen?
Well, I mean, I think it started off with just a goal of mine to get out and have them meet me.
Yes.
And I'm talking about the 28 workforce boards. But it wouldn't have been possible without the great support of a great team that I have. And they're the ones that did all the work on trying to figure out, well, we have to be in this location at this time. So my team, I have to give them the best kudos because they're the ones that put it together. And then I had retired, as you had said, and I have a great support system at home. My wife was very supportive on that too, and helped that. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without my team and my other team at home.
It takes everyone.
Yes.
And we're going to veer off. I was going to wait till a little bit further in the conversation, but you said your retirement and home. So let's talk about your career before joining the commission. Now, I mentioned just a little bit in the intro, but tell us about what got you here. How did you become a commissioner?
Well, it's a long process, and like most pathways through life, it is different pathways that you can take that can get you there. So in high school, I started an Explore Post program with two of my friends that we shadowed the Harlingen Police Department. And right then, that first meeting, I knew, well, all three of us knew we wanted to be police officers. We graduated from high school. We went to Texas Southmost College, got an associate's degree in criminal justice, and all three of us got hired with our hometown Harlingen Police Department. Both of them retired from the police department. I went to the Border Patrol about 8 years while I was with the police department, and that's how I got involved with the United States community and the federal government in that way. So I got, my last few years, I got a chance to meet different representatives, congressmen, senators, governors, and I got to meet Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of the great state of Texas. And when I retired, they knew my work I had done I was with the Border Patrol and Labor, and this position came up from it was just, you can't pick the timing. And they asked if I was willing to take on this. And I've always been in service, so I said, sure, I'll try it. Without, like I said before, knowing what I was really going to get into. But it's been a blessing, and it's kind of curious how pathways take you to different locations in your life. And you just have to be very strong, and it's okay to be afraid, but realizing that you can do new challenges, and we're always learning, so it has been a great learning experience, and that's basically how I got to become Commissioner representing Labor.
I love that you mentioned you have to be strong, but there's something also about being nimble, being flexible with that strength, so it's almost counterintuitive, right? Because, you know, to have your background and then all of a sudden being a commissioner for the great state, there's had to be definitely strength, courage, all of the things to take on, to be responsible, to be accountable. But then there's flexibility that you've had to take on new responsibilities, new roles, new skill sets perhaps as well.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah. And like I said, I think maybe my prior career helped me with that, because everything is changing.
Yes.
Every day is different.
Yes.
And it reminds me of what a sergeant had told me early in my career. He says, if you're confident, you can afford to be courteous. And I've tried to live my life with that, and just the upbringing that I have with my parents and my siblings on how they were telling us how to treat others, and then my faith as a Catholic. You know, the way you treat others, you should be treated that same way too. So it's just something that transcends from early on into your career.
I love how you speak about that. And also, as you talked about getting here to this position, being a commissioner, that you came across elected officials and the governor and all these other folks. But I always like to tell students too, and even remind ourselves sometimes, that those of us that are more advanced, is that you never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. So you're always representing yourself. People are always watching. And just in the fact of putting out the best that you can be, having that nature that you have of yourself because of your upbringing, that opened doors for you that maybe you didn't even intentionally seek.
Right. Well, and that's true. I mean, I've always learned to be and taught to be humble, because you never know who you're talking to, and treat everybody with respect. So it doesn't matter who they are; they can always input something to your life or to a situation. So they can always be of help. Anybody can, and I've seen that firsthand, so I really believe in that and live that day to day.
But there has to be a time, Commissioner, when you get frustrated or you're feeling really proud about an accomplishment again, because there's been so many accomplishments. How do you manage that against, of course, your nature and your upbringing, but how do you stay centered and focused on the person you want to be and the person that you've become because of all the accomplishments? How do you measure that? How do you keep it? How do you stay on the path
Well, that's a
of
good
being the
question.
person that you want to be?
So before, I was not used to being in the limelight, as you say, and it's very easy, I guess, to get full of yourself or a big ego. And I've seen people and read about people that they start losing everything. And I didn't want to do that. And I don't think, I think because of how centered I am at home with my family and at work with my team, that we keep everything very casual and very down to earth, because we can't help anybody if we're thinking just of ourselves.
So true.
So I think the way you can keep focused and path is stay busy and realize what you're there for. And we're here for the community and the citizens of Texas.
Well, I can attest that I really appreciate your stance on that. You talked about service, but you're clearly a servant leader, because in the short time that I've known you, this year plus, that it always seems that you're would put yourself in a position, you put yourself out there, and it seems as though you do that before asking anybody else to do it first, that you'll do it with them or take the lead in situations that can be difficult. So thank you.
Right. Thank you so much.
So I know you mentioned your faith.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful thing to keep us centered, for sure. And you mentioned growing up, your parents and your siblings. When you're going through a challenging time, or again, maybe you're feeling a little overly proud, is there maybe a comment or a lesson that your parents perhaps have taught you, or maybe even your wife taught you, that brings you back, that helps you find center?
Oh, I mean, that's always happening. Growing up, like you said, with my younger sister and brother, we were very competitive. And when you thought you did something outstanding, they would always one-up you. And I think that competitive nature helps you achieve what you need to do. And I, at home all the time, I mean, just when you think you're going to get a little cocky, that, oh, look what I've done or something, it's like, I mean, others have done that before. So you're not the only one that has done that. And since I know that personally, and I've always said, once you think you know how to do something and you don't need to learn anymore, that's usually when you get humbled and get embarrassed, or something happens that brings you back down to reality. Brings you back down to earth.
Yeah, and that's an important lesson for all of us to have from time to time. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at the time, but it's certainly one that brings perspective.
Right. And it was like we were talking earlier. My little mantra is everything will work out. And it may not work out the way you envisioned it, and it might work out even better than what you were thinking. But you just have to trust in yourself and the people around you that everything will take care of itself.
And that's the beauty of having a team, that if you have a strong team around you, what you certainly do, is that people help remind you of the perspective, the goals, the mission, what needs to be accomplished, and how it needs to be done.
Right.
I like that. I want to zigzag because you've said so many valuable things, but I want to go back to the comment that you mentioned about when you were in high school and your friends, and y'all decided right then about wanting to be a police officer. What was it? What did they say to you? What made that impression upon you that you decided, you know what, I want to be a police officer?
I think it was the selflessness of the way the officers conducted themselves and dealt with the public. They were the first ones in, and they would be the last ones to leave to make sure that everything was okay and safe. And that really meant a lot to me. When I was growing up, I remember on Sundays we would watch Sunday morning television after Mass, and I would see different military announcements. And I always saw, I think it was the Navy rescue swimmers that would jump out of the helicopter to save somebody in the water. And I always thought, man, I would like to have done that. Until I got into a pool and realized I really couldn't swim without a mask. So I think it was since early on I've always been wanting to be the one that goes in first and goes and helps when nobody has anybody else that they can count on, that they have somebody they know they can count on.
You know, we talked about servitude, being a servant, but that takes courage too. Do you find that courage to do the right thing or to lead or put yourself in situations that could be dangerous, did that come easily to you, or is it something that you determined that's important to you, so you do it regardless of what you're feeling and you just have to manage it? How do you stay courageous in these difficult times?
Well, I don't know if it's being courageous. I think it's not thinking and doing what you need to do. Later on, people will say, wow, that was kind of courageous, or that was kind of dumb. You know, why did you put yourself in that?
Perspective.
Right, it's perspective, because I felt that way too, like, oh my gosh, I got lucky there. But I think that's what it is. It's not really that you're thinking, it's the training that you have. So just like here, the training that they give me, I've had great help because I wasn't a public speaker. And the staff here would practice with me every week and take time out of their busy day to make sure that I felt comfortable. So I think it's just things like that. It's, putting yourself in the position of practice and listen to other people that have done it before and get their take on it and get their experiences and then make it your own.
It's called stretching your skill set. I
Well,
know that's
guess
what we
so,
say.
yes. That's a good one.
Stretching, it feels
Yeah.
very uncomfortable, but it's amazed what you learn
What
about
you can
yourself
do, right.
and what you can do, what you've never even thought.
Right.
You mentioned the word lucky in a situation that you thought back on. I have a question for you.
Sure.
What is your philosophy on how things happen? Is it luck? Is it a plan? Is it destiny? How does that work for you or look for you?
Yeah, I think
Sure.
it's all of those. Karma is a big one too. So if you do something that you know is not right or something, it'll come back to you.
Those boomerangs.
Boomerangs, that's right. And I think it's just trusting in yourself. And like I said before, the people around you, they're going to help you too. If they see you straying off the path, they're going to tell you something. And that's a good thing about having good friends and good community members, that they'll let you know if you're not doing something that you should be. And the important thing is to listen to them and not keep doing it.
That's true. That's true. You know, and I think the old saying about luck, it's really a combination between opportunity and preparation, which sometimes finds itself. And that leads me back to, comments that we made earlier about you never know who's listening and watching. But also, I know as part of the commission, you are, especially within your office, there's something called career pathways.
Yes.
So I want to talk about that path, since this is a path of most persistence.
Right.
And we're definitely on it. But I want to hear about this pathway, career pathways. What is that? What does the audience need to know?
Well, what they need to know is that there are different ways to get to where you need to be. And what I mean by that is if you have an idea on a career or a type of career, there are ways that you can get there. The traditional career pathway is usually you go to high school, graduate, you go to college, you graduate, and then you go to work. But there are other ways that you can get there or get to a great job without doing the traditional pathway. You can take an apprenticeship program and get a certification in one of the trades that might get you a great paying job, that will get you a great paying job, maybe even your own business one day. Then there are also ways that you can also be taking different certificates where you can go to a university or a college and take a smaller course that'll get you certified, that can help you get better education and advancements in what you're already doing. So there's so many different pathways that you can get, and that's what it really means is there's not just one way to the destination, there's a journey that you can take, and those pathways is what you want to do.
I love that, and I think sometimes, depending on the cyclical nature of education and our culture, what's important and what we value, and I think there was a time where maybe overall within the culture it was very, very important that you get that 4-year degree, and if you didn't get anything at least at that level, then maybe it was kind of second class.
Right.
But what I love about our culture, education, and most definitely with the Workforce Commission, is that there's bringing about such an awareness of value for all types of training. And it's not always about, a PhD or a 4-year degree. It can be 2-year degrees, certificate programs, just continuing education.
Correct.
That really can bring value to someone's professional career, most definitely to their homes. But we need everybody, right?
Right.
We need all types of skill sets.
Correct. And that's the pathways. People can get different pathways, and they make them their own.
Yes.
And like you said perfectly, is we need everybody.
Yes.
So we can't do it alone.
No.
But those other things are great too. So
Great value. It takes a
Yes.
team with people that do certain jobs. Some people are more visible. Some people are behind the curtain, so to speak.
Right.
But it takes us all, as you mentioned several times about the
Yes.
team mentality.
yes.
I know there's a term that's it's very, very visible in all things Workforce Commission related, and we hear it in education a lot, but I really want you to explain it to the audience.
Okay.
What is that term upskill? What does upskill mean to the commissioner and to you as a commissioner?
Upskill means that you're going to take the next step to learn something that will help you in the career that you're at right now. So there are many ways to upskill. We have here at Texas Workforce Commission different grant programs that colleges and universities, high schools, businesses can apply for to help upskill or retrain or continue training the employees that they have. So it could be for a new employee.
Yes.
It could be for even high school students now. We're trying to get them younger and younger to learn which pathway they want to go to, which career out there that they might like. Because you always hear stories of people going to 4 years of college and get their degree, but then they don't want to do what they were studying.
Right.
They find something else. So it's better if we can keep doing that and upskilling the community to learn what they need to and help them. And we're always learning.
You can't be complacent. We can't, and obviously the state is not, because we talked about just how it's so dynamic and what it's doing, how we have this vibrant workforce, but we always need to grow it and to do more because of all the economic possibilities here in the state. But I'm also thinking, too, about, used to be, not so long ago, it feels, you would get a job out of college and you would keep it for 30 years, you retired, and then you were done. That's not the way things work anymore.
No.
And just speaking briefly about your background, you've had different positions, so you've had to upskill within all of those positions. We didn't call it that maybe back.
Right.
But that's what we're doing. We're continuing to grow.
We are. And like you said, it's always happening, and there's always something that you may not even know right now that you might be doing in 5 or 10 years. But being open to those possibilities and realizing that we can try something new and still be a success and an asset to our community and to our families is great. You know, I'm pretty sure you might have had a different vision when you were growing up on what you were going to be and where you were going to be, and it's like that with everybody. Myself, I never would have envisioned that I would be sitting here learning and talking to you about different aspects of what we can do here in Texas. But you just be open and you can accomplish anything. And of course there's going to be a little fear, but you can overcome that, and with practice you will keep doing. If you fail, just keep going. That's and right. You will be very successful as long as you keep moving.
That's so good, so true. With that strength, courage, and flexibility.
Right.
Just keep moving. And you know, it's so true, and I think especially talking with young people, and maybe again some of us that are a little bit older, a failure doesn't have to be a failure. A mistake doesn't define who you are unless you let it.
Right.
It's always about moving and learning.
Right.
Adjusting.
And it's, like you said, it's so great. When we had the opportunity to go to College Station and read, you know, at the different centers, to see the hope and wonder in their eyes makes you reinvigorated to realize, well, this is why I'm doing it, you know, for them. And all the possibilities and hope you see in their eyes just makes you feel like you could do anything. So
I'm so glad you brought that up. And to our audience, we were celebrating National Read Aloud Day.
Yes.
And you, as the commissioner representing labor, was so generous to participate in that event. And we were at the Charlotte Sharp and the Becky Gates Foundation Children's Center in College Station, and you were there with these young children, young Texans. And what I loved, beyond just being in that center with all that energy, those young little minds, those young children that are still so enthusiastic, that you took time to read to them. And I think, as being an observer, I think you probably enjoyed it as much or maybe even more than some of those children. What was it about that interaction that you enjoyed so much?
Well, I mean, like I said, it was just seeing all that energy and hope in their eyes, and also seeing that great staff and the ideas that they were having to keep the children learning and keep them engaged. Things are always changing, and we have to accept change. And they had a great system there, but they said that we're going to keep improving.
Yes.
It's not just the playground, but it's the classroom. One of the young teachers, she had a crime scene set up for the children that was very realistic.
Did it meet your approval?
Oh, yes, it did,
Okay.
and then some. But and that was just for that week.
Yeah.
And then the next week it was going to be something different. So I think I did get more out of that, and very thankful that you invited me to go do that. So and it was a very great experience. So thank you.
Oh, and no, thank you. And I think this, to our audience, this is the kind of value that the Workforce Commission and our good commissioner here bring to our state. I just loved, again, that you took that time, but also that you're so cognizant and aware the commission is, and you are as a person, that those might have been 3, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, but you took the time because they are young Texans, and in a blink, they're going to be in the workforce.
Right.
And we have to start now.
Right.
So you read a book to them, and you it was so gracious of you because you read one of our NPI children's books. But I want to know, did you have a favorite book? Did you have a favorite character growing up?
Well, the favorite book that I had mentioned before was The Black Pearl, and that was the very first book I remember reading the whole way through. And I thought it was about pirates because I lived on the coast of Texas. But it wasn't about pirates. It was about a young boy that is living in a small town in Mexico, and they harvest pearls. And they knew that there was a black pearl, and he was going to go get it for his father to make a name for themselves. And with that, it brings about a curse of everybody wanting it, and you become the object of it. But I do remember that book, and it was something that I will never forget because of the storyline, and it was something totally different. Never read a book by its cover is what it taught me.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
So what were some of those lessons that you think about? Was it just about the strength, having courage, having purpose? What was it about that book that still resonates with you?
Well, there was the fact that the young boy, I think his name was Raymond, wanted to help his family, but also his town. And with that, it ended up maybe hurting more because of all the recognition that it brought to them, and then everybody else trying to get that black pearl turned out to be more of a curse than a good hero moment for him.
I feel as though there's commonalities in all the things that we've talked about that seem just to resonate or represent you as a person and how you conduct your business, and it's really quite honorable, and I appreciate hearing your perspective.
Thank you.
It's so good, and I love having these conversations, Commissioner, because as successful as you are and as accomplished and as high profile as you are, you're still a person. You're still a person that's had a very rich life, but you're such a joyful person and one that is very family-oriented, and I love finding out that about people that are doing great, high-profile things, but you're just like everyone else, right? You're still a person.
Right.
You have a family. You have concerns.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's like you say, I still kind of get uneasy when people say that I'm high profile, and I never really saw myself in this position to be like that. So it's something new that I'm getting to. But I'm going to do my best to try to keep down to earth where I can talk to anybody and anybody can come talk to me. I love to listen to people and some of the experiences they've had. And I try to instill that with everyone around me. And my family is the same way. My wife and I have 2 children. We have a daughter, and she's in Houston. married, and my son is in San Antonio, and he's an attorney, and he's going to be getting married here this year. But we instill that you can always do better, and that's what they're doing and trying to do. So I'm very happy that we can convey that as we move on with our lives to show them how to live and try to be better and follow us too.
And those traits transcend every day, not only your personal life, your professional life, and it's consistency. And I think when individuals such as yourself with those types of characteristics and traits, it brings such a value to your circle of influence, it being in the commission, but all those other groups that you work with, because it lends that culture, that feeling that people can trust you. People want to work harder for you. And I say you as a person that represents those characteristics, right? When you have those personal relationships and it's filled with trust, concern, it makes us all better.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And a lot of times people are suspicious when somebody is really nice or open. Some people think, oh, what angle are you trying to get? But I think if you stay consistent, like you said, and they realize that's just who you are, the conversation will continue, and you'll be able to learn what they're really about too, and they'll learn also what you're about.
Well, I would love for this conversation to continue forever, but I need to respect your time.
No
so
problem.
with that, I have a few more questions before we start to close out. Again, we talked about career pathways, but you have some other initiatives, if it's with foster youth or programs for those that have had a past with the criminal system. Can you talk about some of those other initiatives that are very important to your office and to you?
Yes, well, second chance individuals or people that have been incarcerated before was really something that I've seen personally, because I used to deal with people that unfortunately were in bad situations that would have to be incarcerated and go through the justice system, maybe end up in prison. And Texas Workforce Commission had been working with second chance individuals before. So it's nothing that I'm starting brand new, but I want to continue it and make sure that people have those barriers removed for employment opportunities where they can get the second chance. Because a lot of times they were in a situation where emotions were high and they weren't thinking right, and that would have changed their whole life and their whole pathway before. So I want to just make sure that they have different pathways that they can still become productive community members that they probably really wanted to, other than one mistake.
Well, I love how you phrased that in your opening comments, because instead of saying bad people, you said people that were in bad situations.
Right.
I love that, because at the end of the day, we're people.
Right.
And sometimes great people make poor choices too.
Right.
And also your perspective with your previous career lends such perspective, rich perspective to what you're doing now.
Right. Because, you know, in talking with a lot of the individuals that had been in those bad situations, you hear their pain and their struggles and why did I do that? Or so it's important to help them. Also, like you had mentioned, the foster youth. I noticed that a lot of the times when somebody in the foster youth system turns 18, they cliff out, as they say, and they are just on their own. I can remember myself at 18 that if I was on my own, would I be able to have survived? I don't know. I had a family that I could fall back on, my parents and brothers and sisters, but a lot of times they don't have anybody.
Right.
So I want to bring awareness to that population of individuals and the potential asset that they could be great employees to the greatest state of Texas. So my team and I are working with different agencies that work with foster youth to bring that awareness to light and see what we can do to help them.
Nice, nice. If we just had opportunity and support, we can do amazing things.
Yes.
Okay. And with all the commission and the commissioners on the social media platforms, because you all seem to be everywhere. And I think that's great because you're meeting people where they are. You're capturing all types of audiences, every different age level, it seems, and backgrounds, and that's so important. But I am aware that there's one particular app that you all have that is really quite helpful to the public.
So it is My TX Career app, and that just kicked off. So it's somewhere where somebody that is looking for employment can go in there, and they'll see where they have the opportunities to get, or what jobs are available,
Yes.
what the salaries are, what educational needs might be needed for that, the requirements, in other words, to get it. So it's like a one-stop area that helps people find where they want to go and where they want to be and what career they're looking for.
I love that. All in your hand, in
All
your
in
phone.
your hand, yes.
I love it. I have been on and I've looked at it, and it also seems to have, going back to paths and pathways, it also seems to give an outline of maybe the types of education you need and maybe even a salary outlook perhaps. That's wonderful, not only for young people, again, anyone at any age, but parents too, supportive families that are trying to help others find a way.
Right. I mean, and anything can happen. I mean, even an adult might be in a position where their job is gone, and
That's right.
they have to start again.
Yes.
And I've heard from so many people that that's happened to. They've been working for 15 years, and their business closes, and they have to start again. But that is also a chance maybe for them to do what they really wanted to do.
Yes.
So they have an opportunity to look and find out what jobs are out there.
Find their new skill set and stretch
Correct.
that skill set.
Correct.
So as we close out, is there anything, Commissioner, that I didn't ask that maybe you really want to get out to our audience? Perhaps a new initiative, something that's going on in the state?
Well, I think I just want the citizens of Texas to know that Texas Workforce Commission is here, and we also have the opportunity to connect you to where you need to go, because we have connections with higher education. We have access to different workforce boards throughout the state that might be, especially where you're at right now, that can help you locate help with childcare, education, different assistance, in other words, in getting to where you need to be to have a wonderful career that can support yourself and your family.
Thank you. Commissioner, I just want to thank you again, to you and your amazing team, for allowing this conversation. It is not only an honor, but a joy to work with you and your team and the whole commission. I know that professionally I'm better for it. As a person, I'm better for it, and I know our great state of Texas is better for it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Segovia. It's been my pleasure as well, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to you.
Certainly. And to our audience, I hope you take the time to listen to this entire conversation and all of our other conversations on the path of most persistence. And until next time, I hope you're like our great commissioner that does things with strength, courage, and flexibility. Have a great day. Bye-bye.